workshop and we are going to be doing a little bit of lathe work. We are here today and we have an expert with us in the shape of Mr. Clark. What we're going to be doing today on the lathe, please.
So on the lathe today we are going to have a go at turning between centres. Our workpiece is going to sit, it's called turning between centres because our workpiece sits between that centre and that centre there. This is the parts of the lathe I'm using is a headstock where the driving centre is, and the tailstock where the revolving centre is. Think about it like a horse, head and tail. Oh yeah. Prepared a bit of wood to go on the lathe, and I'm going to put it on right now. He's done the work, to be honest with you. So first is in the bit with the notch out of it goes into the driving centre. I bring in the revolving centre here, or the tailstock. And I've just pushed it here, it's dead loose just now. But what I do is I clamp it in using this part of the tailstock. Now you guys that are getting a wee bit too strong for your age, do not keep winding this until the wood splits. It's just got to hold itself with no wobbling. Okay? Now I'm ready to put the tool rest into position.
Is this the tool rest then?
This is indeed the tool rest. The tools actually are sit upon it when you're turning. Okay, the position of it is really important from a height point of view. Both of those things just now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get it as close to the wood as I can. Okay, and I'm going to clamp it, and I'm going to make sure I can turn the wood and it doesn't touch the tool rest. There we go. And in fact, if I could get it closer, I will. No, that's actually fine. That's actually fine. You notice I haven't clamped this bit yet. I could probably. There we go.
Because can you move that up and down as well?
I certainly can. I'm going to do it in a wee second actually, because I usually like that position there. Okay. You can see this here. I'll loosen it with that, and I could move it up and down here. And what we're wanting to do is make sure the tip of the tool, whatever tool we're using, I'll just go on at random just now. Whatever tool we're using, we want the tip of the tool to sit just about the centre line. Okay, we don't want it above the centre line. If it's above it, it will not cut. If it's well below the centre line, it will actually drag the tool in a bit. So we've got to be careful there. So we want it to, for the tip of the tool there, to be about the centre line. And that's no bad at that. Okay, so safely before we switch the lathe on, I'll talk about myself, I'll talk about the machine. So you can see here that I've got all my personal protective equipment on. So I've got my visor, a bit better than goggles. I'll make sure I'm not wearing a tie or I don't have any of those clothing on. I'll put my dust coat on and I'm pretty well good to go. It's really important to keep yourself safe with this from all sorts of points of view. Something getting caught in there is absolutely frightening. So now the machine, and we've talked about the machine a minute ago, the worst crime, if you like, health and safety wise, is when the machine turns and the wood hits the tool rest. Okay, and you give it a couple of turns by hand like that beforehand. Even when the thing's off, I'm always wary about turning it around like that and nipping my skin in there. So just be aware of these things. So I'm happy to turn the machine on now. And there we go, perfectly safe tool called the rough and gouge, and all gouge chisels are circular or semicircular in cross section. Okay, the best and most efficient place to use a rough and gouge is what you do is you lie it against the tool rest like this and against the wood, and when you lift up, just as it starts to cut, that's its most efficient point of cutting. So I'm just a bit away. There's one thing that I quite like about this tool rest. This tool rest is designed really well to take your finger just right there. Okay, and that's going to keep your tool dead straight. So just be aware of that once I start, because you're not able to see it once I'm away. Okay, so as I say, set the tool on, and it shouldn't do anything. I lift it up, and just as it starts to cut, there we go. That's it starts to cut now. Now do the lightest cuts you can. It's not a master activity. And so what you can do for breaking it, once you gain confidence, don't cut more of it, but you can cut a little bit faster to get the job done quicker. I'm going to start you on the mute your phone, and in a wee minute I'll show you another type of gouge. Okay? We'll get that right. So that's been made the whole lot absolutely round in section. I'm double checking it, there's no flat bits on it. This one's pretty good. One of the things that I definitely want to keep checking as I'm making it round is a bit of rattling about goes on. I want to make sure that the tailstop is still clamped. One of the things that you can do is tighten that bit there which clamps the screw thread. So now I'm ready to do a bit of shaping of this, and I'll use a few different tools starting off with the spindle gouge. And you remember earlier when I said that gouge is circular in cross section. There it is there, a little baby gouge like that there. And again, semicircular and cross section, exactly the same setup as before, but this time much smaller. Okay, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this, but what I like to do for definite one, got a couple of marks on this. Absolutely lovely to do when you're turning. So I'm going to do a little insert just in there like that, using a spindle gouge. Okay, and all I'm going to do is a little bit of shaping, just like that there. There we go. Easily done. So now I'm going to use one of what is the simplest that I think of the turning chisels. This one's a round nose scraper, okay. And in fact, I'll just do the exact same thing that I did with the spindle gouge, because the shape of that allows me for definite to do that. It's easier to use because it's just used horizontally, and there's no difficulty about the curve of the tool, because it's a perfectly flat tool. So there we go. You'll notice that every now and again that stop cutting there, the scraper tool is designed to cut with a little metal bar that sits there after you sharpen it. So that bar will drop off, and so it really does need a sharpen, and I'll get onto that later, I think. So we're now on to our fourth turning tool, and this one's a skew chisel. The skew chisel, in my opinion, is the hardest tool to use. You'll maybe see why, but the important thing about it is it doesn't sit horizontally, it sits vertically on the tool rest, okay? And that part there, the bottom and forward part, is the only bit that does the cutting. Okay, so it's that part there. So this is good for doing little ridges in the material, but it takes a wee bit of effort, and you'll see why. So what I'll do is I'll mark on the outer edges of this. There we go. So I'm going to do 2 cuts there, and just between it, it's going to rise up like this. So right into the pencil mark, and I want you to note that slope there. Okay. So what's happening here is this tool here gets wider and wider, so it starts off very thin in there, okay, and the friction between it is creating a bit of heat. So let's look at how to avoid that now. Now what I'll do is I'll go right beside the gauge that I cut, and I'm just going to push it on at a slight angle. There you go. And so now what I'm doing, I'm making that blade much bigger, and in fact you can even start to round it off a bit. There you go. Just like that here. So the skew chisel is a great tool to use, but you have to be really careful with it, because you can certainly burn the tip of the tool, you can certainly burn half of your wood. So far we've used the spindle gouge, the round nose scraper, and the skew chisel. It can be used for cutting right through the wood, that's why it's called a part tool, but in reality it's used more for cutting a nice square shoulder on your work. it's the exact opposite of the skew chisel, in so much as the skew chisel gets wider and wider as it goes. With the pattern tool, this part here is slightly wider than the rest of it there, which means I'm able to cut into the wood without it binding. So let's see how that works. A bit where I was cutting with the roughing, the round nose scraper, and I'm going to take that rounded shoulder there and I'm going to square it off. I haven't been on the machines for a bit, so I'm just going to rotate that and get into this silicone, and there we go. And this should square it off quite nicely. It's quite handy if you want to make a little series of wheels. So what I can do to make a wheel is, in fact I've got this bit here, and then and you can see that would make my wheel. Now you heard me, just as a moment of opportunity there, the lathe started to make a funny noise here, so I turned it off immediately. I think what was happening was accidentally pushing the tool rest. And really the lesson there is, if your machine makes a noise suddenly that you're not familiar with, turn it off and just reevaluate your safety. The most common thing would be either it's loosened off at the tailstock, or you push the tool rest a wee bit hard and it's twisted onto the wood. So I think that concludes all the tools. A few more things in a minute. So we've deliberately missed a wee bit of safety now as we've been going. The reason for it is just simply to do with sound quality. Well, what we should have going all the time is our extraction system. This extractor is really good. It removes all the fine particles, not the big stuff that you see, but a lot of the fine particles that's going in. And if I just turn it on, you see, it is a bit on the noisy side, but for sure it definitely removes any particles or dust that you've got. And it's great, and the closer you get to it, the better it is. So that is just another additional factor of safety, and you always ask in the SQA exam, they'll ask you to kind of ramp up all your safety things. So it's to do with personal protective equipment, it's to do with checking the machine, make sure things turning, but it's also to do with extraction and keeping dust down. The last thing we wanted to mention was another method of turning that you might come across, if you're turning between centres when we're turning a spindle or a long dentative, whatever. We can also do bowl turning, but you can see here a bowl, there's no way the bowl is going to fit between centres, and in fact, if you did try between centres, the tailstock would get right in the way. So the other way of turning is to use a base plate like this, and this gets screwed onto there, and a blank piece of wood cut as round as you can is screwed to it, and then you're able to start turning just as we've done with this long spindle.
Got that end of the table. So that concludes us for today then. Thank you very much for being here. I'd like to personally thank Mr. Clark here for all his advice and his good instruction, and over to you now. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem at all. Wood turning's a great thing to do. Loads of people have it as a hobby. So although you're young just now and you're kind of learning this, loads of people carry on to later life. So thanks for listening and keep safe.